Hello, friends. We're back. Another episode of Get Boosted on Shot Callers eSports. Eric Kummel here with Matt Hempstead. Looking good in the, what is that, dark red, purple, maroon?
We'll go with maroon. That sounds good.
Definitely looks like maroon.
Definitely does.
We're going to go through an exciting weekend. The gauntlet is over. The LCS season is finally over. It took a while. It's going to be very different next split. So we'll look at the third seeds from the EU and NALCS.
Who could it be?
Heading to Worlds. I don't want to spoil it yet. And later on in the show, we'll be getting to your questions.
That's right.
So make sure you're sending them in throughout the show. Fnatic and C9. There's the spoilers.
Wow. Good thing you saved that till the end. Yeah.
I didn't want to make the people wait. Fnatic 3-0s, H2K. C9 3-1 against CLG. These were the two final bosses. I think for both regions, you've got to be happy because I think you're sending your best teams that you could in this third seed to represent yourselves at Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to it other than that. Cloud9, again, no one really knew what to expect. They hadn't played in like a month on the pro stage.
Yeah.
You had teams like Flyquest and CLG, but the story to their, I guess, gauntlet was inconsistency and questionable decision making. But I mean, not much you really expected out of these teams. CLG kind of looked good after that Flyquest series, but the C9 series was very interesting. I enjoyed it, I guess.
Yeah, there were some questionable moments, questionable plays, questionable decisions. But let's start in EU with that Fnatic and H2K set. I mean, H2K, that was they were going to run the gauntlet if they win, though. They started in that first round, knocked off Splyce and Unicorns of Love. They looked actually pretty good in both of those series. So, I mean, I think people were expecting a pretty hard-fought final match in the gauntlet. But Fnatic pretty much outclassed them across the board, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the third place match between those two guys went to Game 5. So H2K obviously showed they could hang with Fnatic. And they swept Splyce in the first round, Game 5 against the Unicorns, which is a pretty good series, in the second round. And then, when everything's on the line, H2K, what's going on? Just another choke job from those guys. So pretty disappointing overall. And when you look at the series, you can kind of be like, top lane was close, jungle was close, mid was close, whatever. And the bot lane was just a train wreck, as it has been for a while for H2K. So that's really where a lot of the blame goes, and maybe a little bit of Jankos being a tilty guy.
Yeah, I think specifically that bot lane matchup, I mean, pretty much across all the games. I mean, you look here in that game 1, that's just disrespect basically from H2K.
It's 3 minutes into the game.
Like, you should not be dying 2v2 there, and they get it pretty cleanly. Sure, Reckless has to burn his flash, but I think it's worth it for first blood.
Yeah, and then Che tries to freeze for his buddy, Nuclear, and just, again, it is disrespect. At level 3, that's the power spike. Fnatic at level 3 first. H2K should be aware of that. Instead, nope, they just get jumped on. Like you said earlier to me, it was like, I was playing solo queue, and I was just like, oh, I'm just pushing the wave in, whatever, and I'm dead.
I don't want to knock the H2K bot lane too hard. They
you
did
go
get
ahead.
destroyed, but yeah, that looks like me just walking up the CS and being like, oh, wow, I died. Huh, that's too bad. Like, there's just, you've got to be more aware of your lane opponents, what champions they're playing, and that wasn't even a flash Alistar engage. He just comboed him in lane, and it was like, okay, you walked up. So really not so well played there by H2K, and then, yeah, you get Reckless rolling like that, and he's probably going to smash your face in. His performance to 3 games, 14-0-12. That's a pretty good KDA. When you can't actually measure the KDA, you know, it's pretty solid. Yeah. He had an 86% kill participation. Also pretty insane for an 80 carry, and 16.5 CS difference at 15 minutes, which is disgusting. So, I mean, clearly that was the main issue for H2K in this series. Was a lot of these games, Reckless was just carrying these team fights because he was just an item and a half at Nuclear.
When you get 2 kills early, it's pretty good, especially on Tristana, who's right now basically everyone's top pick other than the Callisto, which gets banned every game for some reason. Trist keeps going through. Even some teams getting in the last rotation for whatever reason. But it's just such a strong pick. And once you get to that late game and your full build, which we saw time after time, especially on Sunday, it's like there's not much you can do. You get 2 shots sometimes when you just go crit with the E-proc on your head. It's not fun to play against. But yeah, I mean, technically, Reckless's KDA is undefined, so I don't know how good that is.
That's true.
So, well, I don't know. Reckless, kind of a weak link.
Yeah, I mean, he was basically the main issue for Fnatic as well. But even though H2K gave up those early kills in lane before the other team had even really got involved, they rebounded pretty well in Game 2 and had a sizable lead early on, up around 6 or 7K lead. And then they attempted a Baron. We got a clip of it here. Now, we know that Jankos is prone to tilt.
Yes.
So when your team tries for Baron and the opposing team is pressuring, things could go bad.
It definitely can go bad, and it's not a good start when Soaz gets caught out, which we've seen from time and time again. But with Soaz gone, it's like, okay, we'll start the Baron, especially with the Cho'Gath gun. You can't really steal away with the Feast.
Yeah, no, Ottawamne had stolen the Baron from Fnatic in a different game.
Yes, with the old Nom Nom play.
Yeah.
Very skilled move to make.
Star.
But yeah, I mean, Brox is just chilling on the side the entire time. No one's zoning him. And now he goes in with the black shield on, and Caps is going to burst it down, and there it goes. Easy peasy for Brox. He's done it time and time again in this split. But yeah, no one even tries the zone, and then they all flash over into the red pit.
Yeah, they don't even lose anyone other than Soaz after stealing that Baron. I don't know why H2K isn't trying to zone the Gragas and not let him just freely body slam in. He didn't even have to flash in because no one was trying to interrupt or anything. So I think that's kind of been an issue with H2K, is kind of playing around those pretty much 50-50 Barons. Even though they had the advantage, they had the man advantage, I feel like they could have played that way better and at least made it like a 70-30 that they're the ones that get that Baron, or just all into the Gragas and made sure they weren't going to do anything. So that was kind of the beginning of the end for H2K in that game.
Yeah, that was a pretty lazy play, especially with H2K having an early lead. They did the work to get an advantage. They got Soaz out, and then just zone. That's all you got to do. You send a couple guys around to kind of keep Gragas away from it, and then even the Syndra just doing free damage to it so they can time the burst themselves instead of just trying to random smite it. So it was almost even in favor of Fnatic at that point.
Yeah, and Jankos, a guy who in that G2 series way back a couple weeks ago where they got 3-0'd, Jankos said in Game 1 of that series, they had a Baron stolen from them when he was playing Nunu, and he even said himself that kind of affected them for games to go. So into Game 3 here, after they lost Game 2, after a large reason was that Baron was stolen from them. We got another clip here of Jankos, and you can kind of see the tilt starting to come out.
You definitely see the tilt starting, and I mean, you're a level 4 Sejuani up against a level 6 Syndra.
Your mid laner's nowhere around. Why are you trying to fight that?
And there he goes.
Oh no.
See you later. That's not a good sign. And even the next gank, when he tries to go net Caps again, the Shen ult comes in. Like, they forgot that Shen has a level 6 ability, which is pretty good. And the game just starts to fall apart from there. And it is Jankos being like, oh, I threw Baron away that game. That game's kind of on me. Let's make it happen this one. Get overly aggressive when you don't even have your ultimate yet. You're against a Syndra, who, I don't know if you've known, but she's got a pretty tough ultimate to use, where you just press the R button and you kill somebody. So it's like, I don't know. Not good communication at all with your mid laner, obviously.
Yeah, and even burning your flash when the Syndra ult's already on you. Flash hasn't worked like that for many a years. But, I mean, it's not even just like mechanical stuff like that when you're tilted or not playing at your best. It's, those decisions to take a fight against someone 2 levels higher than you with their ultimate up, and you don't even have yours.
No.
So, and then, lack of communication. It's really sad that a team like H2K can fall off so hard from a play that they just can't reset after games. Games from before still affect them, and that's a pretty big issue in best ofs. Yeah,
but it's something we've seen time and time again from H2K, and for some reason they can't fix it. Maybe it's the players. And I mean, yes, Jankos has been the first Blood King in the past. He's been great on whatever team he's been on. Roccat, Jankos. You've seen it when he's on Lee Sin. He can carry games by himself, but all of a sudden, the tilt is just getting the better of him. And maybe he feels like this bot lane is something he has to put on his own back more than he used to when he had some other guys on that team. But now he's just trying too hard, and it shows in what he's doing, in his facial expressions, in his gestures. So.
And even though they were clearly, at least Jankos, maybe some other guys, were clearly tilted in that game, it was still close at times in Game 3. And then really one of the big turning points was a Baron fight where Caps eventually gets a 4-man stun that kind of swings the fight around. But it's really back and forth. We got a clip of it here.
We do have the clip.
And, both teams kind of play the fight pretty well, but Fnatic eventually comes out on top. But you see the gold's still pretty close.
It is close. It's definitely reasonable at 20 minutes, only like 2.5.
Oh,
there's a pretty bad Jankos ultimate there again. So that's a good sign. But yeah, the Janet keeps everyone alive. HTK had a pretty good play though, kind of like flanking everybody. You get the first kill on Jesus, and then this is where things kind of start to turn when Caps lands an amazing format ultimate. If you look at all that text, a lot of stunned you can see there. That's 4 guys, and again, there goes Jankos. And once you have 4 guys stunned, I mean, Reckless just doing free damage in the back line. No one gets even close to him. And that's all she wrote for this team fight. The Baron, pretty much the series in the game, so.
Yeah, and that was a pretty nice Gnar ultimate there from Otawamne, but again, Reckless and Caps pretty much not affected by it. So yeah, they're just raining free damage. And as long as those 2 carries are up, good night, H2K.
Exactly.
So after that 3-0, are you feeling somewhat more confident about Fnatic? Because I know people were pretty disappointed when they lost 3-1 to Misfits in that semifinals. Heading into this Worlds play-in, you've got to be more confident in them, right?
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, it's kind of the same story. They were looking dominant, went to Rift Rivals, looked terrible, came back, struggled for a bit. So I want to see what they do against competition that's not from EU and like not H2K, a team that just falls off the face of the map so quickly and so easily. So yeah, Fnatic looked good, and Reckless, I mean, he looked great before, and he's still looking spectacular. Maybe now even better than he did prior to Rift Rivals and throughout the rest of this play. I mean, he was making some crazy plays in Gauntlet and playoffs. So I do like what the bot lane's doing. And yeah, Fnatic could be dangerous, but again, we'll have to see what they can bring. Maybe something a little different than what we've seen.
Yeah, Reckless definitely just seems like a man on a mission who won't let the team lose until they're getting into that main stage at Worlds. But we'll get more into that play-in on Wednesday after the group drawing is drawn tomorrow, I believe, on Tuesday.
It is tomorrow. Should be interesting.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes with the 3rd seeds for NA and EU. But on the NA side,
oh boy.
C9, CLG. NA been known for, you know, some Clown Fiesta games throughout their LCS history, but I'm not going to quite call these games Clown Fiestas.
At least a couple were.
There was still some good plays from both teams. I think CLG more so had some questionable moments where they were cohesive on the decision, a decision they would make, but it wasn't necessarily the right one.
Definitely not a good decision. Even against Flyquest, I mean, sure, they won that series 3-1, but they dropped the first game. And yeah, it was kind of the same story where, I mean, their early game was awful against Flyquest. Flyquest kept jumping out in front, but it was their team fighting and the kind of their decision making that pulled it around for CLG in that series. But yeah, I mean, they would get a pick on Cloud9 and then be like, oh, let's go do this, let's go do that. And it was just the absolute wrong decision, and they kind of just lost members by being overly aggressive, making the wrong moves, which cost them Barons, or Darshan or Aframu got caught out after that, and it was just like, man, you did something correct. Just take it slow. But nope, we'll throw it away.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Flyquest series. Against C9, they actually got out to a good start in Game 1.
Wow.
Contracts, who was pretty good throughout the whole series, but in Game 1, got a couple clips of him. He was kind of wandering out on his own.
Yeah, on Italy too. So he's being very aggressive, trying to go in there, but the collapse comes from CLG awfully quickly and dies in the enemy jungle, which is never a good sign. You got to be... Nope. That's part him, but it's also part of his teammates, which should probably be backing him up. But again, there he goes into the enemy jungle. Aframu with a great flay there, but it's like giving 2 free kills away. Not a good start for contracts, but CLG didn't really do too much to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and that was pretty much it for CLG in that game. I mean, they got out to such a early great start for them, early 2-0 lead, kind of set contracts behind a bit, and then it was basically just all C9 for the rest of that. They really just played a little bit more passive because they knew we were a bit behind, and just basically throughout the whole series, a lot of these mid to late game team fights and macro movement around the map, C9 was just leaps and bounds ahead of CLG, which was something we weren't seeing from them, not only against Dignitas, but kind of at the end of the regular split as well. They weren't really communicating around the map well, and they seem to be doing that a lot better.
They definitely did seem to be more on the same page, which is definitely a good sign for them going forward. In previous series, Impact kind of looked by himself, not really communicating with the team, and Hero was a bit better. Even in this series, he was kind of winning the Maokai-Gnar matchup, which you don't expect at all. That's definitely not a winning lane. So that was pretty impressive to see from Impact. But yeah, Cloud9 trying to get on the same page. I mean, Jensen got going too on some nice Syndra kills, which definitely helps. But yeah, he wasn't even the main reason why his team was winning some of these games. Sneaky had a great performance for sure, which I'm sure we'll get to more later. But it's always good when that Cloud9 bot lane, which we called out from time to time, Sneaky Smoothie stepping up. Definitely a good sign for Cloud9 going forward into this play-in stage in Worlds.
Yeah, they were basically polar opposites from what that bot lane was against Dignitas, and at times throughout the regular season, something they definitely needed. But even in Game 2, CLG, again, had a decent start, and they had a pretty hefty gold lead in the mid-game. But we've got to look at one of these team fights that they kind of forced, and overall the theme of this series is them overcommitting to stuff.
Yeah, and here, like, pretty free kill and impact here after they kind of chased the whole team away. Jax gets another kill. So, you know, maybe we'll just go take that bot turret. You got the wave pushing in.
Oh, need more kills.
There goes Afro move, flashing in and dying. And then, I mean, why not keep walking in?
This play by Huhi.
It's just, what is going on?
Listen, Huhi has been fantastic.
Yes.
The best player on CLG for the split throughout the playoffs, but it's not really worth getting an extra poke with that Victor Q to die.
It's definitely not worth it. I mean, they got the win. They got the Shen.
Yeah.
And now you have advantage on the map. But instead, they overpush. Afro's making another weird call ahead of his team. He basically insta-dies in the face of Jensen.
Yep.
And then, I mean, Stixay has to ult away. Then Hui goes aggressive. They're just not on the same page here. Someone's making a split-second call. Afro's probably like, oh, get him, go, 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 go. It's like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let's relax.
And really, just that was kind of the downfall of CLG. I mean, those plays just set them so far back when they were ahead. And you got to think that is a bit of miscommunication, because if they're all diving in at once, or maybe Afro thought they were closer, or maybe Huhi thought his team was backing him up when he steps forward like that, but just clearly not on the same page.
No.
And C9 just basically just kind of sat there throughout a lot of these games, waiting for CLG to make mistakes when CLG had those leads, and they did.
Yeah, CLG kept making those mistakes. Every time they had a lead or an advantage, I don't want to say like they threw it away. Sometimes Cloud9 made a great play to kind of pick someone off, but I mean, CLG gave them that option at times by being overly aggressive, making the wrong map movements, not having vision in one spot, and still going in to like face check or try to get something done. So again, this is kind of what we expect from CLG. As soon as you have faith they're going to do something, usually lose. Yep. So gold lead, oh, they got this unlocked up. No, just kidding, we don't. So lose game 1 the Flyquest, or sorry, lose game 1. Oh, we're going to win this series. Okay, sure, whatever you guys want to do. I don't know. CLG, again, it's very confusing. You never know what to expect except for not expecting anything. Yeah,
they're kind of like H2K, where when there's no hype, they play well. When you have the hype, things don't go so well. But even after that overstep in game 2, they still had a lead. And then Sneaky and Smoothie, the bot lane of C9, came up with this little cheesy bush camp, the old cheesy Fnatic death brush, but only with 2 members. This was after CLG just won a fight. Huhi got a triple kill. Hello, Jax.
Yeah, these are the only 2 guys left alive, and you're going to sit in the bush while you wait for a push. And of course, it's the Jax kind of out by himself. Aftermoo tries to come in and save it, but Sneaky with a great play to kind of push everyone away.
And they knew they were in there. Like, you know, why else would Darshan walk over there unless he knew they were in that bush or in the jungle? So just wait for Omar and Afro to get over there so you can 3v2 them instead of 2v2 them and then 1v2 them.
You had a free inhib.
Yeah.
Maybe even 2. But no, we're just going to be overly aggressive again, kind of a little cocky even. Darshan, pretty fed on the Jax. All you have to do is just go push. Even just keep going straight down the mid lane. And you have it.
That is a game that CLG definitely should have won. If they didn't fall victim to that death brush play, they probably get an inhib. And whenever you have a Jax who was at times, I think, around 150 CS ahead of Impact, you've got to win that game. And it's just, they should have won that game. It should have been 1-1 heading in to game 3, but C9 goes up 2-0. And then, again, even in game 3, CLG really wasn't prone to tilt. Unlike H2K against Fnatic, these were all back and forth games pretty much.
Yeah,
the entire
CLG doesn't tilt. For whatever reason, CLG does not tilt. So respects to that. They keep trying to make plays regardless of whether they're right or wrong. So I guess maybe they should tilt. But I mean, they came back out in game 3, looked pretty good. Their best game, obviously, since they won this one.
Yes.
But again, they probably should have won game 2. That was a hefty throw. Pretty disappointing, but yeah, came out strong in game 3.
Yeah, and I think game 3, the key to them getting that win was basically back to their roots, some playmaking by Afromu on that Alistar. We got a clip of a Baron fight that was a pretty big turning point in that game, and whenever you have Afro with a chance to engage, he can do it pretty well.
Yeah, you can, and Darshan wasn't even here at the start of this fight, but basically Afromu goes in with the ball on him there, so they can actually take out Sneaky on the Xayah, which is obviously huge. And from there, you just have Stixxay, who finally gets his hand on the Tristana, a pretty busted pick in the back line, just freely doing damage, and then they keep going aggressive, get some kills, and of course, that turns into a Baron, which would eventually help them close out the game. But even here, they're behind in goal. So this game was very back and forth as well. There wasn't really one game where you're like, oh, neither team, or like one team is definitely going to win this one. Going forward, like in every game, oh man, this is close, it's going to be this team fight to decide it, and it really was incredibly close.
Yeah, there wasn't any stomps, and if you look at the gold graphs throughout, they were pretty fluctuating up and down.
Very wavy.
Very wavy, yeah. Yeah, and the key thing in that fight was that Huhi got a shockwave on Jensen and Sneaky. They're only able to kill Sneaky, but they pretty much took Jensen out of that fight as well. So after that, we head into game 4, which was very spicy. 50-minute game, and again, very back and forth. CLG had a pretty big lead at times, but this is the game in particular where we've got to praise Sneaky. He played amazing. Didn't die in this game. A 50-minute game you don't die as an AD carry is pretty outrageous. And you were telling me his damage per minute number. Go ahead. That's insane.
It was over 1,500 damage per minute, which is absurd. Like usually if you see 700 or 800, you're like, wow, that's pretty good. But no, over 1,500. I think the number was like over 80,000 damage in a 50-minute game. And again, once you're at that late game Tristana and you're full build, no one's going to stop you. And that's why this pick is so crucial. Even in game 2, it was last rotation picked by Cloud9, which seems odd. CLG definitely should have banned that away. But yeah, the Trist pick, so important. Sneaky got it and showed what he can do. Or sorry, I'm...
game 4, he was Xayah.
Yeah, game 4 was Xayah.
But this,
my mistake. But yeah, still, just pumping out damage on a champion that thrives in the late game.
Well, this whole series, it was Xayah, Trist, and one Caitlyn.
One Caitlyn by CLG,
But pretty much Xayah and Trist just swapping back and forth between Stixxay and Sneaky. I mean, there are a lot of plays to look at, a lot of team fights to look at in this game because there was so many. It was a slugfest. But one of the key ones was CLG... They really wanted to kill Impact, so...
really bad.
Send 3 guys down to kill him, and of course, that's going to result in C9 attempting a Baron. So I think this is just an example of maybe not making the right play by CLG.
It's especially bad when who he uses his global to kind of go towards the bot lane as well. And you can't exactly quickly kill a Galio. One that's been farming all game. This is
you can see how long this clip is of them trying to kill Impact.
Yes, it's a very exciting fight here when you send everybody down there. Omar doesn't do much damage. Shen doesn't do much damage, so it's really just Hui trying to rush him down as a Talia, which doesn't work very well. Eventually Darshan PP's up, but at that point, the Baron's already gone. You can see Omar and Hui trying to work their way up slowly, but basically here's Sneaky turning the fight around with the Blade Collar and his invulnerability. This is part of that 80,000 damage where he just pops off. But yeah, what are you doing in the bot lane? 3 guys.
Yeah, and I mean, CLG did almost win that fight, if not for a really nice shockwave there from Jensen. And I will say CLG did lose, but Stixxay was fantastic at buffering that rocket jump. He pretty much dodged every single shockwave. Kind of another reason why Tristana is a bit of a stupid champion.
You can buffer your...
Yeah, you can just get out of a Orianna ultimate.
Huh.
So that's fun.
Same with blitz hooks.
Yep. There's a lot of things you can just get out of there with Tristana, which is why she's a busted champion, and they should change her ult to busted shot.
Hey, well done.
See there? Only
good joke. Yeah, very fun.
But the game kept going, and there was just tons of teamfight opportunities where Sneaky kind of dominated the game. And there was a moment where CLG looked like they had a pretty significant advantage. Jensen gets caught out in the mid lane, and this play here is pretty much kept C9 in the game, and a lot of it was Sneaky, and of course the Janna Ardent sensor.
Yeah, like you said, Jensen,
goodbye.
There he goes. See you later, crowded by Hui. The Galio ult can't save him. And then, I mean, it looks like it should be a free CLG win. Even Sneaky's kind of knocked out of the way there. But, I mean, eventually CLG's going to jump on him. Even the Janna ult just got used. So I don't know how you're going to protect Sneaky after he gets headbutt onto by Afro. Maokai jumps on him too. But eventually, Tornado kind of helps him out there. He's going to use his ultimate to get away. And then, man, he just starts raining damage. Almost dies to Stixxay. But eventually, aggressive flash forward to get a nice crit.
Gotta love the RNGesus. Gotta praise him. But I think in that fight, Stixxay, maybe, I don't know what the team was communicating, but it looked like even when he was hitting the Galio, he maybe should have switched targets when Sneaky was CC'd and even flashed over, to be honest, to just, he needed 2 autos at most.
Yes.
If one of those is a crit, Sneaky's probably dead during that CC chain, because you saw earlier Sneaky already used his QSS on the Maokai snare, I think. So really they needed 1 or 2 autos from Stixxay to kill Sneaky, and that game might be over. If they kill Sneaky there and don't lose anyone, they might be able to push for the end. So might have been a bit of miscommunication there by CLG.
I mean, if Sneaky's dead, they can literally do whatever they want in that situation. That's 2 damage sources gone. I mean, the Galio's not going to stop you. No one else is going to stop. Janna, I don't know.
Those shields on turrets, they get pretty deadly.
I mean, I don't know. I got to rewatch that team fight. Maybe he was zoned out or CC'd by the Galio. But yeah, if you have any opportunity to kill Sneaky, you take it. Even if it means costing you your life. He was just pumping out so much damage in that point. And great job by him to get away, QSSing things, getting protected by Smoothie on the Janna, clutch Tornado on a bunch of guys. But just these team fights were so close. So close.
Yeah, and of course, credit to Sneaky in that fight, even if Stixxay could have killed him. But I think it's great to just see him knowing when to be aggressive with his flash, because throughout his career, he's kind of a guy who's been, people have said, oh, he's just passive. He just kind of sits back. He's not really the main carry. He hasn't had to be the main carry. But, I mean, he's still one of the most consistent guys. He's going to Worlds now for the 5th consecutive year.
It's a lot of years.
That is insane. No one in NA has done that.
No.
Anytime he's been in the league, he's gone to Worlds, and he's been on the same team every time. So you got to give praise to him, especially because he had really received a lot of criticism lately, him and Smoothie both, and they stepped up in a big way in this series.
Wouldn't matter. Yeah, because they were getting a lot of flack, from us especially.
Especially,
wow,
you were
I know.
ruthless, my God.
Hate those guys. But no, yeah, Sneaky played really well. Even Stixxay in this final game, he didn't have a great series, mind you, but in the final game, like when C9 was pushing, it looked like the game was over after Hui got cut out once. And even Stixxay popped off on the Tristana, aggressive flash forward to get some kills and delay the game a little longer, which made it go on to 50+ minutes. So yeah, both those guys played really well, but Sneaky, if he plays like this, which, again, we've seen it before from him, that he's played really well, but it's just consistency issues. Can he do it game in, game out? We'll have to see. I probably don't expect him to get Tristana or Xayah every game going forward, because those should probably be targeted away.
Interesting pick bans throughout this series. Tristana is kind of like the Syndra of ADs. It doesn't really matter who's playing them. They can look pretty good on it when you have such insane range in the late game and an attack speed steroid that you can pretty much spam. You look pretty solid.
Yeah.
But for C9, same question kind of as Fnatic. Do you feel somewhat confident with them going into Worlds? It was kind of a shaky series. It was 3-1, but it was a lot closer than that.
It was a lot closer, and I mean, this was against a CLG team that just looked so shaky in this series too. And I mean, yeah, they made some good plays, and I don't know. I'm not sold on Cloud9 at all, really, still. I feel like against a team like Immortals or TSM, they would have lost that series pretty convincingly. Still a lot of question marks. I mean, Contracts in Game 1 did not start well at all. The Nidalee pick basically didn't do anything the entire game, even though he gave away those first 2 kills and they won that game. It was a weak performance from him, and then even for them, their decision-making, and they were getting picked off too. So it really was just a back-and-forth series. Both teams making plays, good and bad, a lot of mistakes both sides. So I want to see more from Cloud9 going into this play, some convincing victories over these wildcard teams, even if you consider Cloud9 a wildcard team. Technically, I guess they are.
Oh, they are.
Oh, they are. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and we'll dive way deeper into the play-in matchups once they're announced tomorrow. We'll go into more detail on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And in just a bit, we'll get to your questions for today, so make sure you're sending them in right now. But before we get to that, I want to just touch on CLG. They're not going to Worlds at any time. An organization like CLG isn't going to Worlds. I mean, they're not going to be happy with that. So what what do you think changes now with them going into this whole franchising era? I mean, how different do you think this roster is going to look next split?
I think it'll be pretty similar, minus maybe one change. I don't know if you guys can guess where that change would be. Eric, I don't know if you have a prediction, but yeah, I mean, the jungle has to change, whether they just give him more time. But even in this situation, he's been playing with the team for a while now. He's played as many games, more games, than Dardoch did with the team. Just through, I mean, the playoffs and this gauntlet, they played a bunch of games. So he's had experience now on the stage. Maybe the meta's not good for him or whatever, but I mean, the tank meta comes and goes. No matter what season it is, there's going to be a time where those carry junglers are in, and there's going to be a time when the tank junglers are in. So you got to be able to play a little bit of everything. He was just not inspirational for counter logic gaming.
Yeah, now it was still, he did play a lot of games, but it was still basically half a split. Is that too early to totally judge someone what their capabilities are? Maybe CLG works with them, works with him in the offseason and see if there's any improvements. But I think either way, they're definitely going to be getting either a sub jungle, maybe moving him to jungle. I mean, these teams are going to need to field their academy teams, 5 guys of that heading forward. So I'd be surprised if Omar wasn't on one of those 2 rosters. Maybe he moves down to the academy one. But I think if CLG had the confidence to, you know, put all their eggs in him, again, we don't really know what happened if they were kind of forced into it with that Dardoch trade. They really didn't want Dardoch, so they were kind of left with just Omar. Still don't really know what's going on there, but there is a long time before the next split. There is a lot of off season. I'm sure CLG, the guys will be going on vacation for a while, much deserved, but
somewhat deserved.
They've been working hard. They didn't get the results that they were hoping for, but there's going to be a change there probably.
I would imagine there would be. Yeah, at least some tryouts, at the very least, for that jungle position. One thing I want to hit on, me and you spoke about Forgiven earlier, because one of the top and my favorite things on Reddit, whenever he says anything outrageous, it just goes
anything
fly.
He says is usually outrageous.
Yeah, and I think this is, he posted in Greek, not on Greek, but it was translated, and he was talking about Nuclear, H2K's AD carry.
Who replaced him.
Right, and it goes something like this. I swear to God, Nuclear is the worst player I have seen in many, many years. Congratulations to the least bad team, Fnatic, on winning the match. A scouting team gathered, and someone said, let's get those players, and then they went to choose AD, and the rest confirmed by reviewing their games and said, yeah, sure, let's get Nuclear. He will do just fine. He was the water boy for Svennu. So that's a little harsh coming from Forgiven, but to be fair, Nuclear did perform borderline terribly at times.
I mean, there was inconsistencies throughout the whole split with them, but I think in this series against Fnatic in particular, it was like a whole different level. Like they were just not on the same playing field as Reckless and Jez's in that lane. Anytime you're getting crushed like that before like 3 minutes or at level 3 in lane, yeah, that's a bit of an issue. Obviously, I feel like Forgiven may be a little salty that
doesn't sound right.
That Nuclear and Che kind of took his spot from the bottom lane. And I'm not going to argue that Forgiven is better than Nuclear as an AD carry player. So
you don't think so, eh?
I mean, I think he's got a bit of reason to be upset. But anytime we can quote him, it's fantastic. Because pretty much anything he says, either candid or not, is amazing. He's beyond trash talking. He is just put people down.
It's not friendly. No. It's I'm just going to insult you on social media.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's pretty nice.
That is pretty nice.
Shout-outs to Forgiven.
Shout-outs to Forgiven.
All right, you ready for questions?
I'm ready for question time. You got the tablet. That means it's go time.
It's go time. Question 1.
Question 1.
Mini Bruce 8 wants to know who will be the dark horse going into Worlds. Dark horse.
Well, none of the Korean teams can really be a dark horse.
No, they're definitely favorites.
They're all pretty favorites. Maybe the Gigabyte Marines could play a, I don't even want to call it a spoiler role. It's just, they might surprise some people. I think Levi has shown internationally that he can compete, and not only compete, but be one of the better junglers in those international competitions. Obviously, that competition is a little upped in Worlds, but I think he'll still perform pretty well, and they might fight for one of those top 2 seeds in their groups wherever, depending on what the draw is.
Yeah. Can you consider Flash Wolves a dark horse anymore?
I feel like anyone outside of Korea and the top couple teams in regions could be a dark horse, although Flash Wolves is a top seed. But LMS is always not looked at. So.
Yeah, but they're always a team who can be like, wow, they've got some skill, or maybe we'll just see it next year. But they come every year from the LMS as like the top team.
They usually dominate that region.
Yeah.
Like, pretty heavily, too.
So they're always impressive to watch. Usually they'll take a game off of SKT, and everyone's like, wow, Flash Wolves, this is going to be great. And then they will lose later, but still pretty hype.
I mean, I think even if Fnatic kind of turns it around and plays to what I think they're more capable of, yeah, I know they've pretty much only shown themselves against EU teams, but I think if they play at the level that they've shown they can, I think they could maybe, again, it's really tough because they're a wild card seed, basically, so they're going to have to get pretty lucky because there was some simulations for these groups that teams can get, and some of them look insane. You have like SKT, TSM, Fnatic, all in the same group. I mean, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, it could definitely be a very interesting group stage depending on how it all pans out. So I'm excited for the actual group stage, not as many play-in selection. But
I'm excited for both.
It should still be good because I know one of those teams is going to get cheesed or knocked out, and it's going to be very meme-tastic.
Yes, this is basically the meme prelude to Worlds.
Yes, exactly.
Which will be great.
It will be fantastic. Fast and Zuri 8. What do you think of the chance for Europe to get to finals?
Finals?
Finals, all the way.
Finals of the play-in or finals of
I'm assuming finals of the whole world. Does 0 count? I know you don't like to give 0 of anything.
Well, I never give 0. I could give them 5%.
Nice.
I'd probably give that to G2 just because they have the better seeding and have a better chance at a group where they could maybe get the top seed, get a favorable quarterfinal matchup. But, I mean, if you're going to finals, it's tough to get a lucky quarterfinal matchup and then a lucky semis.
There's no lucky semis
There's no lucky
matchups.
semis.
No.
You're probably playing a Korean. There's 4 spots, 3 Korean teams. You're probably playing a Korean team or maybe a top Chinese team or someone who's upset one of those Korean teams. So maybe 5%.
5% sounds good. Yeah, I'm with you. All to G2 because I don't think anyone else
Don't believe in Misfits?
No, I don't believe in Misfits at all. I mean, Alfari apparently is like already in Challenger or something over there in the Korean servers. So.
Here he comes.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you never know, but I think we do. So I don't expect any in the
Dark Horse MVP of Worlds?
That's correct.
Okay.
Look out for that. Kelvin Tummel, I don't know if you saw this interview. Thoughts on Jensen's post-game interview about Faker? Did you catch it?
I did not see his
I did not catch it either. I'm assuming it was like, wow, he's good.
Or he said, I'm going to clap him.
Yeah. Those are the 2 options.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the last time Jensen, I mean, that's basically the meme around him now is clapped. He said, I want to play Faker. I want to clap him. And he got completely dismantled by Faker. So I'm sure he's looking forward to playing against Faker, but you got to get through the play-in first.
Yeah, before you can worry about Faker, you got to worry about some guys from like Turkey.
Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about that yet. You gotta don't get too far ahead of yourself.
That's never
C9,
what you do,
because it's pretty easy to lose some of these best of ones and round robins, and it's only one best of series to get out of this play-in. So there is definitely the capability for upsets. I would say even more so than actual Worlds.
I agree with you, especially when you might not have a lot of scouting on some of these other teams either. So, but Cloud9 you can definitely scout. A lot to look at.
There's a lot of games there, and yeah, some of these maybe Turkish teams, LCL teams, I don't know how much research teams like C9 and Fnatic have done on them. Probably not much.
Probably not too much. No, I would agree with you on that. We'll answer this one quickly because we touched on it earlier. MiniBrews8 also asks, will CLG keep Oh My God or sign a new jungler? I'm going to side on the new jungler side of things, but with CLG you never really know. They don't usually get heavily involved in imports. But again, everything can change. You don't know who's available yet with the franchising, so we'll have to see who's available. I know Mike Young might be free.
And you got to save that all-important import slot. But I think they'll keep Omar on the roster. They might move him down to that academy team like we talked about. But I think he'll stay on the 10-man roster. He just might be kind of battling it out with someone else for that main roster spot.
Yeah, playing Gragas down on the challenger team.
Yeah. Gragas one trick. And Sedge.
That's
Play a
right.
little Sejuani.
That is true. Hugo asks, do you think C9 and Fnatic will make it through play-ins? I would expect them to make it through. Along with teams like, Gambit and World Elite are obviously the favorites, I would say. But you never know. There's always this one wildcard team that comes out of nowhere and shocks people. I mean, Albus knocks it out of groups last year. Now they just have to go an extra step and go through the play-ins to get to the actual tournament. But it could happen.
Yeah, I think if World Elite, Fnatic, C9, and to a lesser degree this new Gambit team, if one of them don't make it, that's a pretty big upset, I would say. I think those are kind of the four heavy favorites going in terms of C9 and Fnatic. I think they looked a lot better in their final Gauntlet series than they did in their semifinal matchups that they lost. Quarterfinals for C9, they didn't make it to semis, but I think they'll both make it out.
Yeah, I would wager that they would. I'd be surprised to not see them at Worlds, but
be pretty disappointing too. To not see them.
Yeah, if CLG was there, I would say they wouldn't make it, just because that's what you'd expect them to, so they wouldn't.
That would be scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have much less faith in them.
Yeah, even if they have a better ceiling potentially. Not when you think they can win.
No.
It's a dangerous game. Philip Paul, welcome back. It's been a couple weeks since we've seen you here, so welcome. What game are you guys most hyped to see at Worlds? Give me a matchup you want to see.
I mean, there's potentially so many, but I would love to see Gigabyte Marines and TSM.
Yes.
Part 2, Part 3, or whatever. They've played a lot of times, and it's always very interesting just because of the origins of that rivalry that no one expected would ever be a rivalry or a matchup that people would look forward to. But ever since TSM reverse sweep them, and then I believe they split at MSI, right? They go 1-1, or did TSM 2-0 them?
I'm pretty sure the Marines won a game.
I think they went 1-1.
Sure.
So,
yep.
I mean, they can compete with TSM, and I think that's a really intriguing matchup. And I could see their Worlds group, if they're in the same group, again, I don't know how this is all going to work out. It gets very confusing. But I would love to see them in a group and potentially have their final game decide what the seeding is.
I'm with you, yeah, because
spicy.
I mean, Albus Nox beating CLG was fantastic. Kaboom beating Alliance was even better than that.
Yeah, and the Marines are already in Worlds.
I know,
they
don't
even
need
have
this
to play in.
No, they're in there. That means they're better than Cloud9 Fnatic, of course.
Yeah, and
that's
World
what
Elite.
That means. Yeah, and World Elite. Lazaron wants to know, Jensen best mid NA. There it is. Hit me, say yes.
I mean, I guess we've got to answer this once a show.
Yep.
Now this is different than MVP right now.
Just best.
Because I would say Bjergsen has, now you can incorporate lately. I would say lately Bjergsen has been, he was really good in the playoffs. He basically has been consistent the whole split. Jensen kind of fell off a bit. A lot of that was to do with his team in these playoffs.
Yeah.
You can't put that whole dig series on him at all. But even against CLG, he was good. Not nearly at the standard that he set for himself in the regular split. So if we're going into Worlds, I might be more confident in Bjergsen just because he's got more international experience. But I think if he's playing at his best that he showed in the regular split, I think Jensen is the best mid laner in NA.
So you kind of dodged the question a little bit. But
yeah, that was very convoluted and confusing.
So you like Bjergsen and Jensen, basically. In different routes. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
In laning, Jensen's definitely better.
Yes.
Hands down.
But Bjergsen as a whole and maybe in a mental state situation,
yes.
I'd probably take Bjergsen. At Worlds, I'd prefer to have Bjergsen on my team.
Yes.
We'll say that much.
Yeah.
Okay. I like this question from Pushki.
I'm ready.
How'd you feel about Flyquest performance in the Gauntlet? I thoroughly enjoyed watching them, especially against Dignitas when Wild Turtle and Lemonation were popping off. Lemon looked fresh on the recon. I will say that. He looked fantastic.
And Turtle was Turtle of 2 or 3 years ago, prime TSM, where he was one of the main carries on that team. I mean, how could you not root for them during this run? Even 100%. When they won Game 1 against CLG, it was like, oh,
here we go.
Baby, here they come.
And then they got in a lead in Game 2 as well.
Oh, my goodness. I was rooting a little too much probably for them just because the story is so amazing. They hadn't played for like a month and a half, it seemed like. And I loved at the end of that series when they got to do some handshakes with the fans as well. Great stuff by CLG and them to have all 10 guys shaking hands, but it was inspiring.
It was. I don't think we're ever going to see that team again. Hybe will probably retire, though you never know.
3 of those 5 will likely not be in the LCS as players next split.
Ooh.
I think Lemon Nation and High, in particular, could be great coaches.
I agree with you on that, especially on some of these newer teams that might be coming in that need that organization and staff.
And Balls, personal trainer for a team. You know, these teams need to look more into, you know, some physical trainers, so Balls.
Yeah, he can do push-ups and chin-ups.
And pull-ups. Don't forget pull-ups.
Sorry, there's very different.
Yes.
Very different. So yeah, I mean, I thought I enjoyed that series. I was rooting for Flyquest until I thought of seeing Flyquest at Worlds, and then I was like, maybe I'm not cheering for Flyquest anymore because it would probably go terribly wrong.
Luckily, the dream, or what likely would have happened with Flyquest is they wouldn't get past that play-in. They would just be like, yes, we're at Worlds. Actually, you have to do this extra tournament. Oh.
Well.
Uh-oh. But, no, it was fantastic seeing their run.
It was. Too bad it wasn't the full miracle run.
No reverse sweeps either.
No.
Sad.
What's
Tragedy.
going on? Philip Paul asked, what do you think of Groscore moving to America? Among many things, he said the UK servers were filled with a-holes, and it was more polite. I find that very hard to believe, first of all, based on my personal experience in the North American servers.
I haven't played on any of the EU servers, so I can't say for sure, but I don't know if there's politeness in the NA solo queue. Obviously, we're not playing in high ELO, but I mean, it's pretty rare that you get a team where everyone is happy. And even if they seem happy in Champ Select,
it changes.
It seems all great. Sure, I'll pick this for you. Sure, we can switch roles. But then as soon as someone dies, someone gets first blooded, the flame switches are on, and it's not very polite. So I don't think it's more polite.
I think the most polite thing I've seen in solo queue is someone saying TY after you get a blue buff leash to you or something.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. But yeah, I don't. If you're moving solely because NA is more polite, then you're definitely mistaken. Yeah, because almost every player that's come out of EU and gone to North America is like, what is happening?
I wouldn't unpack your bags if you're coming to NA. You might be here for a week and be like, oh, that's right. This is terrible.
All right, let's plow through a couple more questions, Eric.
Sure thing.
What's with Andy? I don't know the answer to that. Will TSM do well this Worlds?
Now the question is, of course, to add on to that, what is doing well? Is doing well getting out of groups? I would say that is a must for TSM. If they don't get out of groups, I think it's super disappointing for them. I don't think Reginald's happy. I don't think Parth is happy. I don't think any of the players are happy. They're expecting more out of themselves, and I think they're capable of getting out of groups. Beyond that, I think you're happy with whatever. I think you're happy with putting up a good performance in quarters. Again, so dependent on the matchup. When this stuff's actually set, like the groups that they're in, we'll be able to really dive into this more. But again, it's so much luck of the draw. They need that first seed to get a favorable matchup, and not being part of those Pool 1 seeds, it's going to be tough to get a first seed in pretty much any group. So outside of quarters, I don't know.
I think in their minds, it's semis is what they want. That's what they're aiming for.
Okay.
Which might be a bit of a stretch.
It's possible.
It is possible. Sure, it is. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they're aiming for as an organization. Reginald's not going to let them back into North America unless they reach that goal. So we'll see.
He'll take all their visas?
Yes, and leave them.
Not coming in.
That's right.
Change
and then they'll
locks.
join SKT.
Wow. I don't know if they'd want them.
Well, I don't know. Bjergsen would probably find it.
Oh yeah, she'd replace Faker.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Or at least sub it up.
So, oh, the easy hoon. Okay.
Yeah, very good at Azir.
If they don't get our groups, it's a travesty.
It's a failure.
It's a failure.
It is. LA Donners, will SKT be able to win again? Of course they can win again. I mean, what more can you possibly expect from SKT? Yes, they lost to Longzhu. Doesn't matter. I don't think it matters at all. Once they hit that world stage, anything can happen. They've already won it 3 times. They know what it takes. Could happen again. I think like 40% chance they win again.
Yeah, I think Longzhu and SKT are, I'd give them pretty similar odds. I know Longzhu just kind of convincingly beat SKT in the LCK finals, but I mean, both those teams look absolutely terrifying. Samsung's still a really solid team, but I think SKT and Longzhu a little step above them. So those two in particular, you don't want them in your group.
No,
You
do
don't.
not. You do not. That would be a nightmare. What do you guys think of Khan? People have been calling him the Beastmaster lately. The Beastmaster.
Oh, interesting.
It's not a very clever nickname for somebody, but
yeah, does he? I don't know. It's kind of a confusing name. But
the Master of Beasts, Eric.
yeah, he only plays Beast champions. It's not that
Jace
many.
isn't very beasty.
He's got a werewolf skin. He will soon, right? Yes. I mean, I think he'll probably be one of the premier, if not the premier top laner at this tournament. He's constantly shown he can do these 1v2, 1v3 outplays, get a kill and escape. He plays that fine line so well, and he's really dominated some key guys like Smeb. He's outplayed Faker a couple times. He's shown he really excels on these carry type champions, and can be pretty strong in the current meta. But the only problem is opposing guys can just lock in Maokai, Cho'Gath, and kind of just sit there and be like, whatever, okay, play your Jace. We'll just gank you and I'll click on you with my snare or something like that. So I don't know if he'll be able to dominate the top lane as much as he did in Korea, just because guys can almost punk out and just kind of play tanks.
Yeah, it's hard to really crush a matchup unless you're saving it for like that last pick where you can get a nice counter grab, like playing Gnar into Maokai or something, or Jax into Shen is obviously not fun if you're the Shen. So there's opportunities to dominate, but yeah, he'll probably have obviously a pretty good tournament. I think he wanted to face guys like Hanser and Darshan. Darshan might not happen because it's going to be pretty difficult to make that trip otherwise.
Maybe he'll fly out to Korea and
just
play him in solo queue.
That's right. Khan, I missed you, buddy.
Just for you.
Exactly. Follow-up question from Phil. Do you think SKT will steal Khan like they did with Peanut?
Ooh.
They do kind of need a top laner because Huni is
well, they basically
Huni. And
they basically sub out a top laner every year. They got to spread the championship wealth.
Of course.
With all these different guys. I mean, I think if Longzhu wins Worlds and maybe knocks off SKT, I think there's maybe a good chance for doing that. But why would Khan want to do that if he said, well, we can beat SKT?
Yeah.
So I don't need to join them. Whereas Peanut maybe felt like they couldn't beat SKT, so he went with them. I think there's a chance for that. I think SKT's, they always make some off-season moves. I think it's basically top lane or jungle, maybe support. But I mean, they look pretty solid. We'll see. What their. It kind of depends how their top laners perform during Worlds, whether it's Antara or Huni. Probably Antara, but
yeah, he'll probably be sticking around with Longzhu. They had a good year. Why not do it again?
Why not?
All right, let's bump through these last couple of questions here, Mr. Eric.
I'm ready.
What would be more surprising? Fnatic not qualifying for Worlds or G2 making semis? I would say G2 making semis would be more surprising. I mean, I think there's so many teams in this play-ins, and you don't really know what to expect from a lot of them. If you get a bad group, and again, in a best-of-5 against some of these wildcard teams, you can get caught off guard, depending on who it is. So, I mean, we don't know. Maybe it could be a Fnatic against World Elite in this best-of-5 or something like that. It's possible.
That would be very unlucky.
It would be very unlucky.
Fnatic. I feel like unless they get a crazy matchup like that, I just can't see them not qualifying. Maybe this is jinxing them, but they're such a storied organization, and they've got to be left with a bit of a sour taste after their performance in the initial EU LCS playoffs. And Reckless is playing out of his mind. I think he would just be so devastated if they didn't qualify for the 16-team Worlds, the main tournament. I just don't see him letting that happen to Fnatic. And for G2, I think if they keep playing as well as they did to close out the LCS playoffs, they have a chance at beating some team in the quarterfinals. Basically, again, as long as it's not a Korean, and maybe they've got a chance against Samsung. Maybe. They got a chance.
It's a lot of maybes, but yes.
They got a chance.
Yeah, they might have a chance against Samsung. Okay, G2 has looked really solid, especially down the stretch, so we'll have to see what they can do. Obviously, their eyes are pretty much going as far as TSM's. They both want to get to that semis, I'm sure, but I don't know how
G2 TSM semis?
That would be something. A team in the finals. That'd be the worst Worlds finals ever.
TSM versus SKT or Longzhu. You
Yes.
have Longzhu, SKT in one semi, TSM G2 the other. That would be great.
People would riot, I'm pretty sure.
That would be great. I know which game would get more views on Twitch.
All right, let's get 3 more questions. You ready?
All right.
We're going to do it quick. Xapu wants to know, I've seen this in another podcast, but can you make a worst group of death you can think of? I have to look at the seeding specifically, but I mean, probably having the #1 Chinese team with SKT.
Yep.
That'd be pretty devastating already.
Yeah, I think I saw one that was RNG, SKT, TSM, and Fnatic.
It's pretty rough.
That was that's pretty tough for that second spot.
That is pretty tough.
Basically, TSM or Fnatic are one of them are definitely not getting it.
100% done.
And they're gonna have to fight pretty hard with RNG to get the other one because SKT they're gonna get out of that group.
Yeah.
So that is tough.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different iterations of some pretty insane ones, mainly because C9 and Fnatic are the wild card teams in some of these. So it's not Kaboom, it's Fnatic or C9, which I would say is a little bit of a step up. But maybe not last year. Albus Knox proved that.
That's right.
Maybe not, but yeah, when we're doing our previews before the draws, we'll come up with some insane
we will.
groups you could have.
That would be quite the show. 2 more. Mini Bruce 8, what changes does UL need to make it to Worlds next year? I can give you
Don't
one.
say it.
You
looked good? He looked good?
He did. He looked
good?
had his best series I've seen in a while.
Yeah. Getting solo kills.
Yeah, he solo killed people.
More so, that shows how busted Cassiopeia is in lane. That Exile is solo killing Febivin.
Yeah. You still got to change. You still got to fix it. You think you can stick with him?
I think if you're going to change anyone, that's the lane you're looking at. I think their bottom lane, I think Samix had a great split. Hillisang
he's questionable at times, too.
He gets caught out a lot, warding and stuff. So you might want to move him. But I feel like he's kind of key for their communication, and he's so great at engaging. I think Xerxes is pretty solid. I think he can still be one of the best junglers in EU. He's got a pretty insane champion pool. Chachi had a down split, but he's been around a while. Him and Hillisang have been on this team for so long. They're such leaders for them. So I think the first guy, if they're going to make any moves, is Exile for sure.
Yeah, and then Hillisang probably after. Because even Gillius was talking on the desk that he's played with him before, and it's like, man, this guy tilts really easily. And it's like, all right. As a leader of your team, that probably shouldn't be happening. So
probably not.
We'll see. The final question, the real question,
here we go.
According to Rodas and Rusev, is, will NA finally make semis at Worlds?
It's not going to be anyone outside of TSM, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's not going to be Immortals that would do it. It's not going to be C9 because they're going to have rough groups. That is the max they could go. I don't see it happening. I see them falling in quarters. But again, it's possible. It's going to be TSM if it happens. I want a TSM G2 semis now that we had mentioned it because it sounds amazing and hilarious. And they have quite a history, those two.
They do.
But I don't see TSM getting there. I could see them maybe putting up a really good fight, getting really close in quarters against a very solid team. But I just don't see TSM coming out as a #1 seed from their group.
Yeah, I'd rather see that matchup in the quarters, TSM G2, than one of them locked into the semis.
Be pretty hype.
It would be pretty hype. All right, take it away.
Well, that's all the questions. Thank you for sending them in. As always, LCS is officially over, the summer split. Now we're looking ahead to the Worlds play-in. The draw is tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon, sometime tomorrow.
It is tomorrow. It's on Tuesday.
It's tomorrow, and we'll be back on Wednesday at 2 p.m. We'll be breaking down that play-in stage, looking in at the matchups, talking about the favorite teams, the EU and NA third seeds. We'll be breaking that all down. But that's it for today.
That's it.
So I've been Eric Kummel here with Matt Hempstead and his maroon shirt, as we mentioned at the top. Thank you very much for watching Get Boosted, and we'll be back on Wednesday to answer some more questions and look at that play-in stage.